everybody. Welcome in. It's good to see some more people pouring into the chat. I'll try to make this introduction a little bit slower to make sure that everybody gets in here, doesn't miss any of the event today. So, hello everybody. My name is Nick Mitchell. I'm here with Conversations with Authors from Book Passage. We here at the bookstore are very excited to bring to you some of the best authors and conversations that you can find out here on the internet. If you've seen one of these events before, well then, welcome back. We're glad to have you here again. But if you're new, then Book Passage is an independently run bookstore out of the San Francisco Bay Area. And back before the shutdown, we hosted book talks just like these at both of our stores, including the one in San Francisco Ferry Building and our main store up in Corte Madera. As we are now streaming on YouTube, and will at least continue to do so in some capacity in the future, please consider subscribing by clicking the subscribe button just below the video. It's completely free to you, and it lets us know that what we're doing is good and that you like it. Additionally, if you click the little bell next to the subscribe button, it'll let you know every time that we go live or post some pre-recorded author content as we do weekly on Sunday now. If you'd like to check out our upcoming events, you can find them all at bookpassage.com/event. There's no S at the end of that. Or you could just click the link that's down in the description box just below the video. If you'd like to check out tonight's book, Goldenrod, or anything else that is mentioned during our interview tonight, you can find it all in the description box below, or from me spamming it in the YouTube chat periodically. And speaking of the YouTube chat, if you have any questions for Maggie tonight, please take the time to write them in the YouTube chat. I will do my best to make sure that she sees them. We don't always have time for everything, but all of your questions and comments are always appreciated. And even then, we do get to most of them usually. And now allow me to introduce Maggie. Maggie Smith, who is the author of our collection today, Goldenrod, is an award-winning author of several books of poetry, including Good Bones, The Well Speaks of Its Own Poison, Lamp of the Body, The List of Dangers, and Nesting Dolls. A 2011 recipient of a creative writing fellowship from the National Endowment of the Arts, Smith has also received several individual excellence awards from the Ohio Arts Council, 2 Academy of American Poets Prizes, a Pushcart Prize, and fellowships from the Sustainable Arts Foundation and the Virginia Center for the Creative Arts. She's been widely published, including in the New York Times, the New Yorker, Tin House, the Gettysburg Review, the Southern Review, and many, many, many more. In addition, for this interview, she is joined by Matthew, I think, Caws. Ooh, I should have asked that ahead of time. Who has been the lead singer and guitarist of the New York-based group Not a Surf for 25 years. He is also one half of the Minor Alps, along with Juliana Hatfield, who released their debut album, Get There, in 2013, which, by the way, is really good. I was listening to him this morning. It's actually a really good album. Maggie's going to explain a little bit further about how this event's going to go. It's a little bit odd, but nothing's going to be different for any of you watching in the chat. So let me pass it off over to her. Maggie?
Hi, thanks, Nick. Thanks to Book Passage for hosting. It is a little bit odd, which feels just right for a poetry event. So a couple of weeks ago, I was able to sit down with Matthew of Not a Surf, and we talked about Goldenrod, my new book, and we talked about poetry writing and songwriting and creativity and inspiration and revision and what happens when you mess something up and you have to go back and fix it, and how do you know when it's done, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And he was kind enough to play some songs I requested to as a Not a Surf super fan. So I think what you'll see for the next hour is sort of a mutual admiration society discussion between 2 artists who enjoy each other's work and like to pick each other's brains about process. And if you have questions while you're watching, if something pops up that you're wondering about that I can answer, I'm happy to pop back in at the end and answer any questions you have about Goldenrod or other poems or writing or really anything. So I hope you enjoy this time and the songs, and I'll see you back in a bit.
Everybody, welcome to this Book Passage event. I wish we could all be there in person, but this is a great substitute. And we are here to celebrate Maggie Smith's wonderful new book of wonderful new poems. Hi, Maggie. I'm such a big fan of yours.
Hi, what a weird coincidence because I'm such a big fan of yours.
No way, no way. Well,
Is that why we're here?
I've been just a huge fan since I first read your writing, and there's so much that I want to say about it. Things like how it has some magic in it. It is it's practical. It's useful. It's comforting. All these things. But since we're here to celebrate your book, maybe I feel like I should first hand the floor over to you and your poems.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, thank you to Book Passage for hosting us. And speaking of magic, it's magical that we are able to do this with you being across the pond and me being in Ohio, hosted by a bookstore in San Francisco. I kind of think, you know, we are in the future. We're living in the future. Where's my jetpack?
Yeah, exactly.
Where is my jetpack? I was promised a jetpack.
Yeah.
That's the next poem. I was promised a jetpack.
Right.
Thank you so much for being here. I'm happy to start with some poems and then we can
I wrote down a lot of questions. I have a lot of things I want to
good.
ask.
Okay. I'll answer any, well, you know me, I'll answer anything. Okay. I just have, this is like my version of a set list, Matthew, is like a dog-eared copy of Goldenrod. I never really plan. I just sort of flip and I dog-ear poems I kind of like to read and then I flip.
That's my Goldenrod and it's got lots of dog ears. And
it
led me to tweet the other day that it's okay to dog ear books you know you're going to keep.
Yeah. Oh, I absolutely agree. And I write in my books and I take notes in them and they're mine. So I can't.
Exactly.
That's the point. Yeah. Not the library's books.
That's right.
Okay. Well, I'm going to start. I'll start with the title poem. That seems sensible. This is Goldenrod. I'm no botanist. If you're the color of sulfur and growing at the roadside, you're Goldenrod. You don't care what I call you, whatever you were born as. You don't know your own name. But driving near Peoria, the sky pink-orange, the sun bobbing at the horizon, I see everything is what it is exactly, in spite of the words I use. Black cows, barns falling in on themselves, you. Dear flowers born with a highway view, forgive me if I've mistaken you. Goldenrod, whatever your name is, you are with your own kind. Look, the meadow is a mirror full of you, your reflection repeating. Whatever you are, I see you, wild yellow, and I would let you name me. I'm just going to flip to the next dog ear.
Oh, yeah.
All right, we're going to do it. This one was born from a couple of things. One, looking at like a children's atlas. And the other thing is overhearing a conversation between my kids while in the kitchen doing dishes. And they were in the living room, which is the room behind me. And I love to eavesdrop.
I love how you write about kids. It's a really big, for me as a parent, it's a really big feature of it is to read about how you see those relationships and all the richness that you see in it and get out of it, and also the way you're very frank about how it's a bit of heartbreak too.
Oh, it's a lot of heartbreak, but you know, there's no great love without great heartbreak,
right.
Of any variety. But yeah, I mean, you know, so much of my life is parenting, so to keep it out of my work, to sort of like pen it in this other area, other kind of pen, not pen, seems wrong to me. Like seems like an odd choice. I don't know. I write from my experience, and so much of my experiences.
Yeah, right. It wouldn't be you in a way. Yeah.
Right. And most of my conversations are with them. Like they're the people I spend the most time with.
Right. Me too.
And frankly, they're better conversationalists than most adults.
Yeah.
Let's be real. So this one's called Lacrimae. Green dashes for grassland, brown dots for desert, solid blue for water. The children's atlas is all simulacra, from the Latin for likeness, which always reminds me of lacrimae, Latin for tears. That's the rickety bridge my brain makes over the river, or the kinked blue line that stands for it. What a landscape in the symbolic distance, dark green lollipops for deciduous forest, a cluster of black carrots for mountains. Once, doing dishes, I overheard my children bickering about metaphysics in the next room. The 3-year-old said, "Everything is true." And his older sister countered, "Do you mean real?" When I think likeness, I think tears, blue, always for water, blue running through and under everything. Maybe I'll read one more.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, please.
All right, I'm just gonna flip. Okay, so this is a little bit about the creative process. And it's also sort of a nod to all of the sourdough baking that people seem to be doing during lockdown. Did you do sourdough baking?
I did, yeah.
You were one of the people then that inspired this
Right.
poem, because I just thought, how are these people being, like they're suddenly homesteading? Like people are being productive in ways that, like I'm really just trying to like keep us alive at this point. So it amazed me that people picked up new things.
I think it came from that early fear about food supplies.
Yeah.
And I think everybody thought, in very doomsday ways that maybe looking back seem naive, but no, you need to plan for whatever you think may be coming. And
right.
So I think everyone was all of a sudden worried about self-sufficiency.
Yeah. And then suddenly there was like a yeast shortage because so many people were making bread. So we brought that upon ourselves.
Yeah, we did.
So I didn't bake sourdough during lockdown, but I did write a poem that used the sort of sourdough starter as metaphor.
Yeah.
It's called Prove. I let a thought prove in my head overnight. In the morning, I check to see what's risen. I try to expect nothing, which is exactly what I deserve. What kind of woman demands her head deliver? But sometimes I wake to a thought doubled, tripled in size, and as good sour as anything grown in the dark.
So good. Well, so good. I love that you read that one, because that was one of my questions was about that. And it was about the process and how I love hearing about people's process. And I wondered if when you have an idea, do you need to drop everything and just get it down, or can you hold on overnight?
Oh no, I cannot hold on overnight. Yeah. No, I mean I'm a jot down in the moment kind of person, and I typically can shorthand it. Like if I come up with a metaphor or an image, or there's one line, like sometimes a line will come sort of fully formed, like one sentence or one phrase of 3 or 4 words that I love the sound of them together. And I know if I just get that bit down as like a placeholder, I can come back to it and I'll know what that version of me was sort of trying to get at, and then I can kind of keep going with it. But if I don't write that bit down or those specific words, I'll lose it, or I'll have the idea later, but I won't have the language. And if you're a poet, having the idea without the language is sort of useless.
Totally. Yeah. And the sort of other shades and levels of it. There's a great Paul McCartney story, and it's about the first time he got high, and I can't remember if it's the first time he took drug A or B, whether it was pot or acid or something, but apparently he took this drug and he had a great experience, and he went to bed, and in the morning he woke up in such a good mood because he thought, I remember that I figured it all out. I figured life out, and I wrote it down on a pad of paper in my living room. I can't wait to go see what it was. And he goes and he looks at the pad and it says, there are 7 levels. He's like, what are the levels? What, like, I should have elaborated, And
it's like a 7-layer burrito. Like, what was he? It was like cheese, beans, sour cream. Like that might not have been that deep.
Yeah. Right.
I love that. Yeah,
Isn't
I
that
mean,
funny?
I write stuff down in the middle of the night sometimes if I wake up and have a
Yeah,
dream and I think, oh my gosh, that seems like my brain is trying to sort of like tap on the glass while I'm sleeping, and I need to get this down because I know if I sleep, I'll have another 3 dreams that will then come and
yeah,
crowd that one out.
yeah.
Do you
I
do that?
think I do, and but I think it's such a common frustration of everyone's, I think, is how hard it is to record your dream in the morning, because sometimes holding a pen wakes you up so much that it evaporates.
Yeah.
And I've had whole songs appear in a dream and disappear, and I know they're better than anything I've ever actually written, and it makes me really sad because they just go, or I think they were. I don't know. But yeah, I love that, and I like to think of in in that poem of yours how maybe your dream keeps cooking it.
Yeah.
Takes that idea and takes it away to a little world, and
Yeah.
lets it grow up. It's
And maybe
amazing.
it grows. I mean, that's like poems usually begin really small for me. It's usually like
Yeah,
1 or 2 words or one sort of metaphor or comparison where I see something and it reminds me of something else. And then it has
yeah,
to grow. It has to like pick up momentum
yeah,
and it has to like roll and other things have to get rolled into it,
yeah,
and I don't know,
yeah.
maybe songwriting is similar. How does it
Yeah.
start for you?
For me, very often it's just a little. It's not words or music first or melody first. It's all at once, but just a little bit, like
Hmm.
one little phrase. It has 2 chords. It has a little melody. It's an idea, and it's usually just that. And then I try and water it and add some hamburger helper, and you know, give it some body if I'm lucky. And sometimes it doesn't grow into a whole song, but I have another little mini one, and I sometimes combine them and see what happens.
I
Um,
love that you do that because I do that with poems. Like
yeah,
sometimes I have like one stanza in a poem that's I feel like is like the thing, but
yeah,
everything else around it is sort of just there to make that possible. And it feels a little bit like filler or like the
yeah,
pedestal on which the like shining thing is sitting, but it's all the rest of it's made of plywood and isn't very nice to
yeah,
look at. But if I can
right,
pull that one thing out and find something else that maybe I wrote 2 years ago and has nothing to do with it, but there's like this alchemy that happens when you let the
yeah,
2 things play in the same pen, and they elevate, each elevates the other.
yeah, totally. And in a way, you probably know, even if some of the plywood ones may actually be great, and that's your inner critic is just strafing the landscape.
Yep.
Um, but you do know, I'm sure, the lines that are going to last. Like, well, that's done. That one's going to survive whatever I put around it. And then
Yeah.
if you introduce it to another one of those, and maybe they've got something to make together. Um,
Do you
I,
ever
I
find
want to,
well, I'm here and I'm gonna ask you a question. So do you ever
yeah.
find that you over revise something and you like scrub something out that then later you're like, oh, actually that thing that I didn't think was important actually sort of needs to be there?
Yeah, yeah, and I thought of that, something you said in Keep Moving. Um, Viewers, if you probably have that book, but if you don't, it's Maggie's previous book and it's fantastic, so you should get it.
Oh,
There's something you said in Keep Moving about dulling, like dulling the shine away and over polishing. And I do that sometimes out of embarrassment, or again, it's the inner critic.
yeah.
I've been doing something the last few months, for a few weeks at a time, and that's getting up really, really early. Like for me, wildly early, like 5, which is not something I've ever done, but it's kind of corny when I explain it. But it's that I think that's earlier than my inner critic gets up.
Yep.
It's so early that there's so nothing to lose, and it's so ahead of any schedule that I allow myself to it's not to allowing myself to like something or not like it, it's just allowing myself to skip that part.
Yeah.
Skip the grading and the estimation, or the the testing. Just leave it alone, and just listen and live, and say stuff, and and sometimes whether I think it's true or not, maybe it's not me, maybe it's somebody else, maybe it's a different life. I don't know, I mean, more often than not, I always try to get to something that's true to me, but maybe I'm
Yeah.
saying that just to say that it feels free, and free like it used to be a long time ago. And it's something else that I see that you mentioned about having time on your own now and being able to live a little bit like college days. And
Yeah.
I miss that. And I used to, for ages, I married very, very late in life. So most of my life was just free and alone, and I could stay up all night whenever I felt like it. And I think there's such a value to that. And I'm finding that getting up really early is giving me that same uh, kind of empty house, empty heart in a way. Do you know what
Yeah.
I mean? Not in a negative
I
way,
do.
empty
I
heart, but
do.
just quiet.
I find early morning and
Yeah.
late night to be my best writing windows.
Yeah, for sure.
And I think you're right. I think it's something about it being like low stakes time where it's
Yeah.
like not the work day and
Yeah.
you're sort of not at full capacity, but you kind of are at the same time. And
Yeah.
your edges are a little softer. I think at the like I just feel a little bit
Yeah.
more permeable,
Yeah,
a
for
little bit
sure.
more porous at those times
Yeah.
of day, which is like maybe it's the sort of like coming out of dream into the waking world, and you're sort of in that boundary, like that twilight
Yeah. Yeah. And your
time.
defenses are down also
Exactly.
in a
And
good
you need
way.
that. You need that.
Yeah.
I mean, I think editing, maybe midday is good.
Right. You're right.
Mailing, sending something to my agent midday, probably better than
Yeah. Yeah.
that like
Yeah.
late night when you're like, ooh, this is genius. Let that steep, because something that's
Yeah, for
genius at
sure.
2 in the morning might not be genius at 2 in the afternoon.
It's sad, but so true.
Yeah.
It's so
Yeah.
true. Um, there's some things I'd love to just touch on in case we get into a conversation and time runs away. I wanted to just say some of my favorite things about your writing, and one is the sort of kind of a magic realism that you have that I really love, where you're sort of teasing extraordinary things out of ordinary things,
Mhm.
and I really love. And like the poem where you're with your son and it's raining and you turn the house into a boat, um, or where two stones are like brothers and they chip away at each other until they turn into flame. I'm paraphrasing, but anyway, I really I love that, and I love how you're able to create this bits of magic out of material that we all have, because it's just normal life.
That's so kind. Thank you. I mean, I
Yeah.
think part of what I try to do in my poems is make familiar things new for myself.
Yeah, right.
And part of that is I think sort of born of necessity, because my life is the same kind of day
Yeah,
after day after day in lots of ways. I mean,
yeah,
I'm talking to you from Columbus, Ohio,
yeah.
about 20 minutes from the hospital where I was born. My
Right.
mother was born, my kids were born. I'm
Man.
20 minutes from my childhood home where my parents still live. Like,
Yeah.
I know my neighbors. Like, my life is sort of very rooted and regular and sort of, structured, except for the fact that I work from home and don't have a regular kind of get in the car and go to a gig kind of job.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
making the world that I see every day or the experiences I have new for me
Yeah.
is important, because that's what keeps me sort of like
Yeah.
alive in the brain,
Yeah.
and keeps me enthusiastic and excited about living in a place and with people that are really familiar. Like, it just never gets old, because there's
Right.
always something new, because it's the way that you're perceiving it that is
Right.
new.
Right. And you need that oxygen, like giving it to yourself on the plane first. Like you're giving yourself the excitement or magic or novelty to keep you positive. And I think that's another quality of your writing that I love so much and I get so much out of, is the positivity. Um, and it made me think of two things. One is that you're always talking about, seems to me, not to tell you what you're doing. But
You probably know
I
better than
always
I
get,
do.
no. I was gonna say, what I get so much of is mentioning these little things, these little. I mean, especially in Keep Moving, but definitely in Goldenrod too, in so many poems, these little moments of effort or building or constructing or choosing to be happy about something or seeing the miracle in something. And I was thinking how so many of the big gestures that we know, like quitting a job or sweeping everything off the dresser or flipping your desk, not speaking from experience, I've never done this, but it seems like a lot of the big moves we have are negative and destructive. And the positive things we have tend to be smaller. Like you can't just, although you can in your mind, and I love that too. And you touched upon that, how you can, choose to love this person, choose to love your job, choose to love your city or something. But the practical, actual things we can do that are positive they're all baby steps.
Yeah, they're all small and they accrue. I mean, it's like you don't, I mean, you can wreck something very fast, but you can't make it as quickly as you can break it. It takes a long time to make good things and only, a couple seconds, to flip the table. And I think that, that can be frustrating as a human being. Forget as a poet, it can be frustrating as a human being how easy it is, how breakable things are.
For
quickly
sure.
Things can fall apart.
For sure.
And yet, even when the dresser's been cleared, like it might take you a little time to pick everything back up and decide where to put it, but like you get to do that, and maybe you put it someplace else. Maybe it didn't belong on the dresser. Maybe you never liked that dresser. Maybe you never liked that stuff. Maybe you haven't dusted that dresser in years because it was so covered in clutter. So I mean, I'm trying.
Yeah, totally. And I love also that in the spirit of doing little things again and again and again and building on them, I guess another beauty of that is that it turns it into one long gesture, like a years long act. If you did all those little things and they're cumulative, and if you do something in slow motion, you can always get it right. So you're bound to get it right if you do it that slow. There's no way.
It's like a flip book. Like every little page has a tiny little change, but if you flip it fast enough, you get to see the whole smooth action.
Yeah, totally.
I love that. I love that.
And then it made me want to think of the opposite of catastrophizing. Because that's in Keep Moving also. But again, I keep mentioning Keep Moving just because I felt so many through lines, and maybe, I feel like for me, every time we make a new record, we are asked by our publicist and our manager, who are wonderful people, what's the story? And it's like,
oh my gosh,
it's a bunch of songs.
Yeah,
connected to the other songs into one big pile of songs. That's all I got.
I love that. I mean, and it's true. And I think about that as like, Goldenrod is its own thing, but it's also, in my mind, and it sounds like you're thinking of your records in the same way. It's like part of a continued conversation that I'm having with myself on paper first. And then I share it. And so it becomes this conversation I'm having with readers. And the conversation began with the first poems I published in my first book, 16 years ago. And every time I publish a new poem or a new book, it's like that conversation is continuing. And so I can talk about like themes, I suppose. I can talk about sort of like what I was grappling with when I wrote the poems, but the sort of beauty of poetry, and I think the beauty of songs and of records, is that you can't summarize or paraphrase them. Like, it's not, there isn't a plot that you can say, well, this book is about a woman who wakes up one morning and then she goes outside and the world is gone and then she has to decide what to do. Like, there's no movie trailer sentence that describes.
As if you needed to, or as if someone asked you to give the plot of a map, because all you're really, I mean, not you, us, all one is doing in a way is like mapping your interior for yourself, because you need to get to know it. And
Yep.
then you're mapping your enthusiasm, mapping your bravery in hopes that there is some, and that it has a shape. And that map is something you just work on forever, really.
Yeah.
I mean, until you know it all, which you won't.
No.
And that's fine.
And that's the point. I mean, that's
Right.
the most inspiring thing is questions. Like, what am I doing? Like, what is
Yeah.
this life? How do I know what I know? Why do I
Yeah.
remember certain things and I've lost whole other chunks of things, but I can remember the dress I was wearing at my 8th birthday party.
Yeah.
But like this year of my life is gone from my brain. I mean, all of these things about being human, that's what I go, I mean, it's what I go to poems to figure out. Like
Right.
that's what I'm doing. I don't come to the page thinking I'm going to write a poem about X and then
Right.
share with
Right.
you my knowledge about X. Like it's not a
Right.
treatise. Like I come to the page because I'm trying to figure something out. And
Yeah.
the act of writing the poem is me figuring it out. And so the poem itself is sort of a record of discovery where you can see my mind
Right.
working and kind of real
Yeah.
time. And I mean, maybe songs aren't that different.
It's the same, I think.
Yeah.
I mean, depending
Yeah,
on
you have
how.
lots of extra good stuff that you get to do that I don't get to do. Like I just have to write it down and I'm like, well,
Right.
sure would be better. There was some guitar on that.
Well, I mean, it makes me think. Well, first, there's a guy. I think he's from Manchester, John Cooper Clarke. I hope I'm getting his name right. He's kind of a punk, post-punk poet, and he just gets up on stage and reads his poems. And there's that band Sleaford Mods. You know, one guy is just there with a beer and a cigarette and a laptop, and he hits play, and the music happens, and the other guy, because you could. I'd love to come see you in a drum machine.
Okay.
Yeah,
I can do that.
it'd be rad.
Okay, great.
We could do a night together when I've never met you. I look
Yeah,
forward to
no, I
meeting.
love that.
I just like sit behind you and make some noise,
I'll let you do that.
That'd be awesome.
Yeah. I mean, my daughter's learning how to play bass and drums right now, so maybe we'll get
And my
Violet up
band.
there. I mean,
Yeah,
there's
totally.
like a 3-piece. We've got it.
Yeah, totally. But yeah, I think you're totally right. It's like the minutes of the meeting or something. Like you had a meeting with yourself, you wrote down what was discussed.
Yeah.
You wrote down questions for the next meeting, and you'll refer to them later.
Yeah. And there is like no Excel spreadsheet required.
Right.
No meeting, no meeting that should have been an email, like none of that.
Right.
It's just the notes.
Yeah.
I love it.
Exactly. Yeah. Hey, let me look at my notes. What do I have? Yes, I asked you about that. Writing about children, through lines, small steps. Yeah, well, there's more of that, more of the ordinary and the extraordinary and magic. I think that's my favorite part, really. The thing that thrills me most about your writing is just statements made of ordinary ingredients. I'm repeating myself, but I
love that. It makes me, maybe I'll read a poem that I think maybe touches on.
Yeah.
I'm not, so there, because you said magic, and there's a poem in the book called Talisman, and I think
I love that one.
It's kind of about magic, but my son has this habit, and he's had it for a long time. My daughter, I think, did this a little bit when she was young too, but he's really held on to it, where he collects these little things from nature. Like there's one here.
Yeah.
It is on my desk. A feather. So, he collects these little things, little acorns and stones and seashells and, flowers and bits of things. And sometimes they're in his pockets, and sometimes he puts them into like my purse or coat pockets, and I don't even know, or we're walking and he hands it to me and I put it away and forget about it. And then you get out a winter coat all those months later and put it on, and you slip your hand into your pocket and you find something from the previous year, and it feels like something that could protect you.
Yeah.
In a
like a letter too. It's almost like he's sending you
it's like a message in a bottle.
Yeah.
And it's like his past younger self gave me this sort of like protective thing, and it really does feel, I mean, there's a poem in Good Bones, my last book of poems, that talks about what I do when I fly, which I haven't done in a long time, but whenever I fly on airplanes, I take either something that my kids drew or made, like something that their hands have touched. And that's the thing that in my mind half keeps the plane in the air. Like I know there's physics that keeps the plane in the air, but it's also a note that my daughter wrote to her stuffed cheetah. Like that is also the thing that's keeping the plane in the air. I'm a little superstitious when it comes to my kids, and I just feel like they're part of what keeps me, like my feet tethered to this planet. So there are a couple poems in Goldenrod that reference these like nature treasures that Rhett collects, and this is one of them. It's called Talisman. They look like gifts a crow might bring a human girl desperate to impress her. In the left pocket of my thrifted emerald coat, a scuffed acorn, a glassy black stone, one pink Mr. Potato Head ear. When I touch them, I can believe almost anything. Who's to say they can't keep me safe? Who's to say a bird can't court someone's daughter? But in this life, it's my son who shows his love like a creature that clever, leaving treasures for my fingers to worry against. I carry them like anything I love until they warm in my palm, until I believe. Walking alone at night, the sky feathered blue-black and slowly folding over me, I pocket my left hand and tell myself a story about my life, a story I call Talisman, a story that might end well if I tell it right. This came from a pandemic walk, which there are a lot of walking poems I realize in this book, in part because I'm a walker and I'm always walking with the kids or with my dog, but in part because particularly over the past year or so, it was like the thing I could do. I could go outside and even, with a friend, kind of distance, take a walk in my neighborhood. And at night I could go out unmasked and I wouldn't have to worry about running into other people and having to cross the road and avoid others. So I would, put my giant headphones on and play, favorite songs and just sort of pretend it was being piped in from the sky, from Wonder Woman's radio. And I could just, be free, which especially in like the peak lockdown, feeling so claustrophobic, those night walks were everything. And so finding those little treasures made me feel, even protected in that weird, dark time. Like maybe we're all going to be okay. Like maybe this is a little sign that we're all going to be okay.
Yeah. And in a way, there's two things about that. I think one is that these walks, it's like coming back to where you are, because with the pandemic, it's like the news became bigger than it usually is. And when the news gets that big, then reality is somehow pulled away to this. It's not imaginary, it's real, but it's pulled away to the distance, because that's where everything is happening, aside from your, if you were ill or if you're in financial trouble or something, that's reality. But so much of what we're hearing about all day is far. And so getting back to the ground, and taking a walk on it. And then with these talismans, it's like, we need stories. I've read, I can't remember the author's name. He's so great. There's a book called Sapiens, and it's just,
I know. I can't, I won't be able to name it either, but it's, I know.
It's so great. And he talks about how, up to a group of like 250 people or so, you can organize them if you have somebody with a loud voice, somebody charismatic, compelling, or whatever it is that focuses 250 people. But above that, you can't without a story. You need myth. And even they use this French car company, Peugeot, as an example of a myth. He just described an example. I think because the symbol of Peugeot is half man, half lion, so it sort of has a mythical logo. But does the company exist? Who knows? And since there are all these myths, and some of them obviously, like, we get into hot water with religious myths and them clashing and things, but maybe we need our own myths to balance those out. And so the myths of superstition or family or having a talisman. I've done the same thing. There was a little, my older son, when he was little, he gave me this little Lego Batman, and I took it on tour and took it everywhere, with a little frayed cape, always in my bag, always with me. Yeah, right.
This guy sits on my desk all the time. Like
Fantastic.
no one played with a toy that size in my house in years, but I still have the little people, like monkey driving a car with a banana in the trunk. Why?
Yeah.
Because I don't know. It's also a reminder, these are little time capsules to other times and other sort of versions of ourselves and versions of our children,
and where do those years live? Maybe the years live in that little car.
Yeah. I mean, I think a lot of people are sort of like nesting dolls.
Yeah.
And it's like when it's not, you don't get rid of who you were 5 years ago or 10 years ago or 40 years ago. That person's not gone. It's not like you wake up in the morning on your next birthday and you've done like a save over, in a Word document where like you've replaced the last version. It's just, it feels to me like we're just sort of carrying all of these versions of ourselves inside, and like tucked in the very heart of it is, the little one that doesn't have a seam and you can't open it. And that's like the you. And I think that's like that little one that you can't open, that's at the center of everything, is to me like that's where poems get made. Like that inner space is where poems get made, and I can't get to her often, when I'm multitasking on my phone, have a lot of phone calls, 3 p.m, the kids are asking what's for snack. There's so much noise, and I need stillness to be able to sort of get into that.
She has a quieter voice. She's so small.
That's right. She does not have a whistle and a clipbourt, and 250 people are not going to listen to her. So I have to, she like whispers, and I have to, get up at 5 o'clock in the morning or stay up late, or get some time to myself and just like,
I've been, I've had the experience twice in reading Goldenrod where there were things I've been thinking about that you're sort of spelling out. And that's one of them, because I've been thinking a lot about, how your inner voice is quieter, and it takes some effort. You sort of have to go to it and put in the not the, I don't mean the time, but or effort, you know what I mean? Put in the attention to hear it and to value its words and respect it. I have a hard time listening to my inner voice, but I want to. And then the other thing is this phrase I've been carrying around, which is, if only I knew now what I know now. And I've gotten a lot of that in your writing, because you keep on underlining things that I do know now. I just forget to know them, or think I don't have the energy to know them, or maybe they're inconvenient because doing the little good effort building thing is not as much fun as doing whatever the 1,000 deliciously ill-advised whatever. you know.
Yeah, no, I do know. I mean, I think I'm constantly having to relearn the same lessons over and over again, and it's so often it's like I have to kind of like sneak up on them, or maybe they have to sneak up on me, and I can only kind of see them out of my peripheral vision, and I can kind of grab them that way. I rarely learn things the easy way, or the first time, or because someone tells me that it's right and I believe them.
Right.
I think I'm an experiential learner, and that is painful, but also I think extra instructive, because once you've learned something enough times, enough different ways, it sticks.
It's right, like mental muscle memory, or muscle memory of the heart, or something.
No,
I know exactly what you mean. We have a song called Live, Learn, and Forget that goes live, learn, and forget, live and learn again. You know, it's. But you're right. Yeah, I'm exactly like that, and I think a lot of people probably are.
And that's what I mean. Sometimes I think about like, what would I do with that if I didn't have poems? Like, what would I do with all of this thinking if I didn't have a place to put all of it? And I don't know. I mean, I don't know who I would be if I hadn't found my way into, grabbing a pen and writing stuff down when I was, 13, 14, 15 years old, and just kept doing it over and over and over and over again. I don't know where I'd put all this stuff. I don't know. Where would it go?
You might have taken up a corner seat at the bar and stayed there for 20 years, frustrated that the conversation wasn't rising up to where you wanted it to be, or to that, higher frequency or something. I don't know why I'm saying all that.
Yeah, no, but I mean,
full respect to people sitting at the bar for 20 years, but
I mean,
who knows?
Where do you put the stuff if you don't have? I mean, I feel really lucky to have kind of stumbled into a place to have these conversations with myself.
Yeah,
because I can't do what I do in a poem in a chat, say at a bar with a friend. I can't do this work. I mean, I do a lot of processing with friends, and I love my therapist, and I talk to my mom on the phone if I need advice about something.
Yeah.
Like these kinds of processing my own experience and sort of being in the world and being a parent and being a human, I can't have that as a casual lunch chat. So I feel very lucky that I stumbled into a way to process for myself that feels healthy.
Yeah, for sure, because you'll never feel mute.
Right.
And I think that I've been thinking that so much, especially through the recent administration and everything, that just I know there's always been a lot of anger in this country, but there's so much sort of commentariat flaming, and so often I wonder if the person who's expressing anger or sort of final judgment on something maybe didn't get to create enough, and is now being substituting this kind of loudness because they feel mute, and which is why I wish there was more money for art programs of any kind, because it could be anything you get to write, and that's just, it's the greatest. But maybe it would be any other number of things, Could be art, just could be cooking, could be something creative where you get to have
metabolize. A voice. Like I think about that. Like I think a lot of people's angst that comes out in what I would say, like, unfortunate actions.
Yeah, sure.
I would I don't want to call them bad, but like unfortunate actions, it's like a lot of it I think is due to sort of unmetabolized frustration or disappointment or fear or just stuff that just, there's no other place. They don't know what else to do with this.
Yeah.
And there's no place to take it or no one to hand it to.
Yeah.
And so it basically, there are like a couple different ways that you can manage that. And I think about that a lot. So I'm glad to metabolize on paper.
Yeah. So great.
Yeah.
And hardly anyone, you're doing the big stuff, but everybody can write something down, and that's good to remember.
Yeah. Like, I don't know. I mean, I think both of my kids have had writing, little notebooks forever. Like they've always had blank books. If I ever go on a work trip, I always grab them like a moleskin from the
that's great.
I'm at. And even when my son was like in preschool, before he could even write his name, I think he was 3, he would take this little Batman moleskin that I'd gotten him at the last bookstore in LA on on a reading trip. He would take it, had one of those little rubber bands with a pen in his little backpack with his, granola bar to the JCC. Yeah. And I remember asking him once, like, buddy, do we really need your notebook packed in today? Like, we've got your sunscreen, we've got your juice box, and he was like, you never know when you might have an idea.
Oh, it's so great. It's because you do it. I mean, that's great. It's
Exactly.
like
And
his
I'm like,
idea of what adults do.
right. And I'm like, it's
Right.
hilarious because if you had an idea, you wouldn't be able to write it down because you can't write yet. But also the idea that he thought at 3 that his ideas had value enough
Right.
to
Right.
record them was
Yeah.
like, that for me was the thing. Like,
Great.
and
Yeah.
so I don't take a ton of pictures of my kids because I'm a little lazy about that. But
Mm.
I think in some ways what I'm documenting about being their mom and about some of the moments from their childhood through my poems is writing down the things
Yeah.
that they do or say. And
Yeah.
that, you know, there's a written record now if there aren't a lot of great
Yeah.
photos.
Yeah. Oh, and that's that. It's, you know, it's better in a way. I mean, the photos are great. My dad kept a file on us, on my sister and I, and you know,
A dossier?
a little bit. Yeah. Yeah. It mean, you know, just writing down things we said, and it means so much to me, you
I
know,
love that.
because not, and it's not because of what I said. You know, some of the things are kind of funny, but it's more that it's proof he was there
And
and
paying
listening
attention.
and paying attention, and that feels good.
Yeah. I mean, it's funny, like if when you said trying to come up with like a story of the album, or, you know,
Yeah. Yeah.
but
Yeah.
I think in some ways, if I had to say what the story of Goldenrod is, it's paying attention.
Right. Right.
Like if I were forced to boil it down to something that would fit on,
Yeah.
you know, a fortune cookie slip, it
Yeah.
would be paying attention. I mean, and that's a really big concept, but it
Yeah.
just, you know, like just sit down or walk and look, you know, and listen. Like that's really
Yeah.
the thing.
Yeah. And can do so much good for you, you know, because that's kind of what meditation brings anyway, is that just presence. And whether you do that or not, in a way, it's not, whether one meditates or not, I do sometimes, not regularly enough, but not as important as living in that way.
Yeah.
You
I mean,
know?
attention is a form of love, right? Like when
Yeah.
you give attention and time to something, you're showing love, whether it's your kids or your work or yourself.
To yourself. If you're sitting there and just paying attention to rain outside, right,
Right.
you're right. You're
That's a
loving
thing.
yourself.
That's not wasted time.
No.
Which reminds me, and I brought this up to you yesterday, that a couple of years ago, we were listening to some Nada Surf in the house, as we
Yeah.
often do in this house. And my son, I don't know, he's maybe 5 at the time, said something like, they sure sing a lot about love.
So
Because
nice.
he'd listened to several songs in a row, you know, and I think it was on shuffle. So it was like
Yeah.
pulling different songs from different records. And I said, yeah, buddy, they do. It's, you know, like kind of funny that you know, he
Yeah.
was paying attention. He was listening, not just to the
Yeah.
music, but to the words. And he said, it protects you.
Oh, come on.
And I was like, you know
So
what,
sweet.
that's the talisman thing. Like the idea that our love for each other is somehow protective. And I
Yeah.
feel that. And I realize there's no scientific basis for that.
Right.
But I
Right.
feel intuitively that is true, that like being loved feels a lot like being protected.
Yeah. Well, you know, we could float a theory, like maybe if you feel loved, you know, like when you're a teenager and like you fall in love or close to it the first time, and all of a sudden love songs on the radio are all amazing and everything, you know, and skies all of a sudden 12 colors, and you know, so it's great. It's like it helps you love the world a little more. And if you love the world a little more, you may be paying a little more attention, which means you'll be a little more careful about where you step and you won't be as likely to trip or whatever, you know.
Yeah.
So maybe it does keeps you awake, keeps you alive.
You awake.
Yeah.
Yep. Agreed.
Yeah. Yeah.
Agreed.
Oh, that's so nice of Rhett. I'll please say thank you.
I will. I told him I was going to be talking to you today.
Yeah.
And he was like,
Yeah.
what?
Yeah.
I'm sorry, what?
Well, man, I don't know what the time, is there a timing to this? Can we just keep chatting, or should I play a couple of songs? And
I would love for you to play a couple of songs.
okay. Dear viewers, this is not me cutting the conversation short. This is me worried that there was a slot here, and we're going over. Okay, well these are, oops, sorry, a lot of noise. These are two that you asked for, so I'm
I love that you
so
take
happy to do them. Yeah. Well, it's especially nice if it's the day before, so I can sort of sit down and remember what the chords are.
Perfect.
This isn't inspired by a poem, but I don't even know. I can't remember what it's called, but there's a Rumi poem where he says something like, "What you want wants you," or "What you're searching for is searching for you." And I love that idea so much that I wrote a song about it. In the middle of a sleepless night, it sneaks in through my window. It takes its time, it stays nearby till I get down to zero. When I get so tired that I'm ready for a drink, I almost go downstairs where there's a bottle waiting for me if I find my way there. Here's where it speaks, asking me to freeze, whistling diamond days, telling me my dreams, and I'm looking for a higher vibration. It's fading, but I'll tell you what I know. I believe it will unlock every station. I believe it will untie every road. A doctor asked me to describe what I thought was my mission. I tried to think of something deep, it seemed beyond description. He said, it's right in front of you, it's only to be well, to take the days just as they come and try to ring some bells. And I'm looking for a high vibration. It's fading, but I'll tell you what I know. I believe it will unlock every station. I believe it will untie every rope. It loves you and it's headed for your window. It loves you and it's coming to your home. What you're looking for is looking for you too. What you're looking for is looking for you too. What you're looking for is looking for you too. Don't move. What you're looking for is looking for you too. Don't move. There's no tiger in the room. There's no one lunging at you. But everything is trying to talk to you. And who you are becoming. What you're looking for is looking for you too. What you're looking for is looking for you too. What you're looking for is looking for you too. Don't move. What you're looking for is looking
my goodness.
Right on.
I have to tell, I mean, I did so many late night walks during the height of quarantine, listening to that on my colossally large
Oh,
headphones, walking around my neighborhood, just like it was exactly what I needed to hear. And every time the bells came in.
oh, awesome. That
So
makes me
I'm
so
trying
happy.
not to cry. And so far, I don't have mascara running down my face.
Oh, man. Well, that makes me so happy, and it makes me so happy to have a kind of exchange, that way, because I get so much out of your writing. So that makes me happy to pay it back a little bit. Your other request is called "When I Was Young." I haven't played this in a while, but I think I can remember it. It's amazing how much time love saves you at first when you rediscover your reason work, and your aimless dreaming has found a target, and you normalize, and greed of function returned. Came home early, 1:45. I don't need more wine, I'm coming for you. We carry pictures in our pretend wallets of ourselves in heavily edited 70s, with better handwriting and longer days at the park, and dinners with no drama, the professor and Mary Ann. Came home early, 1:45. I don't need more wine, I'm coming for you. Late summer return, airless apartment, I lean out the window. Deals on irregular shirts, same fried delight as last year, but more so. When I was young, I didn't know if I was better off asleep or up. Now I've grown up, I wonder what was that world I was dreaming of? What was that world I was dreaming of? What was that world I was dreaming of?
Thank you. That
Thank you
was
so
so
much.
beautiful.
Oh, thanks.
I'm
Thanks.
sitting here thinking, what have I done in my life that I forget the poems? What have I done in my life that has led me to be able to sit with you in this moment and and listen to you play like this. And I
Oh
think the
man.
last time I saw Not a Surf live, I was uber pregnant.
Oh wow. Oh yeah.
And with my second, and I think I drove to Indianapolis because that was the closest you came.
Right. Oh,
And
thanks for
I drove to
driving.
Indianapolis very pregnant.
Thanks
And
for that.
yeah, hey, I
Man.
dragged myself out and stood the entire time. And so this is just beyond. I can't tell you what it means to me. So thank you.
Man, well, that makes me so happy, and it's been such an honor to do this with you. Um, I I think it's great. I'm such a fan, and it's so much fun to talk about writing, and that's going to enrich my reading experience even more. And I'm going to dog ear even more pages.
I love when you dog-eared the book. I feel like that's
Yeah.
always a sign of a loved book, is like when somebody's actually spent time inside of it and they're not afraid.
I feel like you mentioned it somewhere, and it made me think it was okay.
It's okay.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I mean,
I don't see a problem with it.
yeah, I don't either.
Yeah.
It's just affection. That's all it is.
Oh, I appreciate the affection.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for doing this and for helping to welcome Goldenrod into the world.
Well, man, my great pleasure, and thank you to you, and thank you to Book Passage, and what a great thing to live in the time of printing, so that you can. It's
Here
like,
we are.
it's great.
And
We lucked out. We
we
lucked out.
lucked out. And
Yeah.
next time we'll manage to be in the same place at the same time somehow.
Totally, absolutely. I can't wait.
Maybe
I'll let
with
you
a
know.
drum machine, but maybe not.
Yeah,
Okay,
there's plenty of time for that.
perfect.
All right. Well, thanks so much. Great to see you.
Thanks,
And
you too.
thank you, Book Passage, and thanks everybody. See you soon. I hope. Talk to you soon. Okay. Bye.
Alrighty, everybody. How was that? How was that? I hope you liked it. I saw a lot of people in chat commenting about what a beautiful song that was. Somebody talking about how lovely Maggie's blue phone was in the background. So we do have a couple questions that are here in the chat. So I thought maybe we'd spend some time, a little bit of time asking them. Maggie is assented to being asked a couple questions. So it should be said that if you are still watching and you're here in the chat and you would like to ask a question, you can just type it into the YouTube chat and we'll get it to her, or we'll do our best. We don't have time for all of them, but if you do have one, write yours and we'll get to it, or we'll do our best. So California Girl, Maggie, hello. California Girl asks, the poem Goldenrod reminds me so much of Ken Nordine's Colors. Have you ever heard of this genius album?
So no, although seeing that name, I quickly Googled on my phone and was correct. It's not a very common last name, and that he's from a pretty famous Chicago music family. And I realized that his granddaughter was one of my students. So I haven't heard the record, but now I know, now I need to look it up because there's a connection there.
Wow.
Small world.
Yeah, that's wild. And then what was you said? I think we were talking while the video was going that you think he played with the Dead or something like that, or somebody?
I think his son. Yeah, I think his son was played also with the Grateful Dead.
That's absolutely wild. That's crazy. Anyways, okay. Next, coming in from Tasmania, pretty exciting. Liz Winfield asks, "I'd love to know what it's like to have such instant fame for a poem that went viral."
It's as strange as you can imagine it being, since most of us who write poems do so thinking that the people who will read them will be other poets. The audience for poetry is sort of beautifully small and discerning. And so I guess what I would say is, if I had known how many people would read Good Bones, I probably never would have finished the poem, because it never would have been ready to be read by that many people. And so it was an incredibly strange thing, and also kind of had to something I had to kind of scrub from my brain in order to keep writing. Because after that poem went viral, I think it was natural and easy to think, well, is this what all the people who only know me because of that poem, is that what they think all my work is like? And do they want my next poems to be like that poem? Because I can't do that again. I have no interest in recreating something I've already done. There's no Good Bones, the sequel. And so I had to kind of scrub that from my brain and pretend it never happened in order to keep creating things for me, which is what I do when I write poems. And so one of the ways I did that was by writing what I consider to be really small, specific poems, not poems about big ideas, not poems that I thought would speak to a lot of people. And so I started writing poems about sticks and rocks and trees and keeping it incredibly concrete. And in fact, one of those poems is in Goldenrod, and it's called Stone.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's really wild. And then Liz also asks something that I think probably a lot of people in the audience want to know. It's I think probably the most common question we get asked to our speakers. Who are you reading now? And also, what writers did you read that sent you into the life of poetry?
I'm usually reading like 10 to 12 books at a time in various stages of completion, usually nonfiction, either essays or memoir and poetry. And as I read them, I pile them on my desk. So I can kind of reach over and tell you what I'm reading right now. I'm reading Twice Alive by Forrest Gander. I'm reading Arias by Sharon Olds. I am reading the very new Pilgrim Bell by Kaveh Akbar. And I am rereading The Life by Carrie Fountain, which is one of my favorite books of poems to come out in the past few years. And memoir-wise, I just finished Danielle Henderson's The Ugly Cry, which was fantastic. Writers that sent me into the poetry life, Lennon and McCartney, Neil Young, Joni Mitchell. I really started writing poems listening to my parents' record collection. So before I really got into poetry proper, I got really into song lyrics. And so that's where the really early poems, my 13 and 14-year-old poems, were really more inspired by listening to records and then writing the words down and trying to figure out how they were able to sort of crystallize these moments or experiences and make me feel like that sort of like heart stop, breath catch in your throat feeling that like the chapter books I was reading in 7th grade weren't doing for me. But later when I started reading poems as a teenager, I got really into Sylvia Plath, and then wrote a lot of Sylvia Plath cover poems, as one does when they find someone they really like in their teenage years. And Anne Sexton and Marge Piercy and Nikki Giovanni and Donald Hall and Richard Brodigan and really anything I could find at the used bookshop in my town. And I would take my babysitting money up there and buy books and just underline and scribble in them. And those were the sort of early loves.
I have a question from myself. Do you, maybe you can't, and that's okay, is there a song that you find had like an outsized effect on your writing or on your life based off of those singer-songwriters that you just named, Joni Mitchell and all them? Is there one?
I mean, when I think about the ones that I listen to over, because I'm a listen to on repeat kind of person even now, like I can listen to the same song all day. And I think it makes even my dog depressed. Like if I listen to the same Elliott Smith song 50 times, I look over and she's just kind of giving me the look like, really, Mom? I think the ones that I listened to the most during those years, I mean, it was probably the White Album, everything on the White Album.
Oh, wow.
The White Album and Joni Mitchell's Blue. And probably CSN and Y So Far. I mean, yeah, like helplessly hoping, forget about it, please. Like there's so much like alliteration and assonance and consonants. Like forget metaphor, forget rhyme. Like take those two big heavy hitters out. And those songwriters are still using the other sort of like smaller tools, like the little wrenches that we sometimes overlook in poems. So I can't think of like one song in particular, but there were lots that I listened to lots and probably drove everyone crazy.
I imagine. Well, okay. There are probably a couple more questions in the chat, but it looks like everybody's moved on or so. Lots of people just thanking you for being here. So
Thank you.
I think at this point we'll wrap it on up. To everybody that made it all the way through to the end, the book is Goldenrod Poems. We have them copies of them in our San Francisco. I was just there a couple days ago, but we have copies of them in our San Francisco store and in our Corte Madera store. But more importantly, you can purchase them online from bookpassage.com. Link below in the description and pinned to the top of the YouTube chat. You can buy it from us and have it shipped right to your house, just like any other online retailer, including the A word, of which we daren't speak their name. Thank you for stopping by. If you enjoyed this, please subscribe to the channel so that you get alerted whenever we go live. If you liked our conversation here, if you can give us a big thumbs up, it helps appease our YouTube overlords, so that this conversation gets shared to as many people as possible. But other than that, I do believe we are done. Please share this with as many people as you see fit, and I do hope to see you all in the next one. Bye.